Welcome back, Rage Nation. Got myself Pete here.
That's not really exciting.
You got Senior Dixon.
I don't think that's appropriate.
And we got Monsieur Leopard.
Explorers deserved it. No.
Absolutely.
I was disgusted. I cannot believe they've done this.
Why is wacky? Why is Darth Bird? It's just nonsense.
I disagree on that. That's not possible.
We're getting the band back together. We're on a mission. Yeah.
Now we've got a whole new list of things to complain about.
Welcome back, Rage Nation. We are back at it again doing the AM podcast. Got myself Pete here with Dixon. We are up early in the morning because we are talking with someone from Poland about one of my favorite masters that I just played at the Houston GT, Sandeep.
You're too subtle. You soloed Sandeep the entire weekend.
That's
literally fair. Against Sharks, because I don't think I had an easy opponent the entire weekend.
The only easy game I had was round one, and then after that it was a smash fest for sure. But yeah, we're talking about Sandeep, specifically the Font of Magic. I will talk I'll ask some questions about our guest with the first version of Sandeep, probably towards the end of it, just because I have no reps with Sandeep 1 because I've been enjoying the title so much. But we do have Bartek with us from Poland to hop on and talk about the Font of Magic. How's it going?
Oh, it's great. It's almost a sunny afternoon, so it's not AM here.
The sun's not even up here yet.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's really a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I will say, I don't know if you're the inspiration, but when we talked about Sandeep in the Arcanist episode, we're like, Sandeep's not that good. Edic specifically was like, yeah, you're wrong. So I don't know if you were playing Sandeep a lot where people are like, yeah, Sandeep's actually pretty good. So I don't know how much you've been wrecking people, Bartek.
It was my first master. I started Malifaux with Sandeep. I was going to go with Bayou, to be fair, but Edek stole that, so I had to go the second best thing. So it landed on Arcanists and Sandeep, and it's amazing. I think that sometimes when the stars are right, you can pull out some crazy combinations and destroy someone's game.
Have you been enjoying the title for quite a while now since it's been out?
Yes. Yeah, okay. I have been playing the title a lot, and to be fair, I have been playing almost exclusively the Font of Magic because it feels kind of better.
It's really good.
How did your solo Sandeep weekend go?
It went pretty good. I ended up going 4-2, and we'll definitely reference a lot of that because, and 4-2 against some really good points. The only ones I lost to Angel, who I only lost by 2 points, and he killed Sandeep turn 2.
Oh, that's painful.
Yeah, it was, but the crew was good enough where I grinded out, and it could have been a draw. I don't think I had a line of play to win, but Angel just kept making pretty solid plays throughout the game. So
what did he play?
He played Brewmaster 1.
Oh, okay.
So he was able to lure Sandeep out and then smash him.
And to be honest, Pete, I would have fallen for that too, because I'd be like, it's Brewmaster 1.
I didn't fall for it. I kind of gambled, and that's fine. But then the other game I played, it was against Travis, who's a really good Texas player, and he played double master into Cursed with Shenlong and Yoko, or not Yoko.
Misaki.
Yeah, there it is, Misaki, the shadow marker chick. And I think I had a win lined up there, except for I missed a shadow marker that allowed her to basically pop up and kill Sandeep to score, assassinate, and to get a curse point. So that swung it in his direction. So it was, but both games I had ability to win and play, and Sandeep is very flexible because of that.
Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons why I made that. I remember when I was telling you about the War
I made
Machine.
Europe proud.
You know the War Machine rules I was telling you about? One of them was like true line of sight is treasonous.
Yeah.
like that's why I used to force myself to go to my opponent's side to look at things his line of sight because that's so frustrating. I don't know how you're not upset about that because I still to this day I'll still be talking about it.
I was just kind of like, well, that's why I started messing with Travis. I was like, did you put that shadow marker there when I wasn't looking? Because I didn't see that.
No, I think it happens every time I playing against Misaki. Sometimes they just manifest spontaneously.
Oh, they for sure do. Yeah, and before we get into talk about this awesome episode of Sandeep, though, make sure that you guys check us out. You can do that on YouTube. You can do it on our Discord, which is always, honestly, I think my Discord channel has more non-American players on it than American. We have a ton of like European and Australian and New Zealand players, so it's definitely I'll wake up sometimes and look at the Discord, and there's like 5 conversations that took place while I was sleeping. So it's a lot of fun if you like talking Malifaux of all hours. You can check us out on Twitter, and then finally, if you want to support us directly, you can do that at patreon.com/RageQuitWire. You can support us for as little as $1. And then you can also put in our affiliation link to send us some money if you buy stuff from Weird. Gives us a small percentage. You just go to give us your money, please, thank you, weird.com/RageQuitWire. And a little bit of that goes back to the podcast just to show your appreciation if you don't want to be a patron. So we have the Font of Magic. So the original version of Sandeep is this summoner, and he's kind of a weird summoner where he almost like throws out these little gammons and blows them up and has this weird kind of like, I don't know, it's a weird shell game that I haven't tried out yet. But I have tried the Font of Magic, which is where we're going to start off. So the Font of Magic has a couple of really, I'd say, key abilities. So starting with the Master. So he has a mantra that lets you slide your markers around, or you can slide even your opponent's markers around. I found that convenient in a lot of situations. Like if Maw puts me in a pit trap, I can move the pit trap so that way I don't take like injured 10. So that's been nice before. Also, one with everything it's kind of, I wouldn't say good, but it makes it where your models don't hinder each other, and you don't accidentally like stack a bunch of fire onto like your ice golem if you do it that way. But it's one with
that's way better than this.
Yeah,
going through ice pillars also.
Yeah, you can walk through ice pillars.
That's super annoying.
Yeah, like, so just ignoring all your shockwaves, all the abilities if you want to, all the demise abilities, I should say, all the markers. And it's definitely in a lot of situations you're just like, yeah, I just don't care.
Yeah, because one of the games, what I was saying is, you put like 3 or 4 ice pillars, and you could still see through them and go through them, but I couldn't, and it was just frustrating. I'm like, this is so like one-sided. I need to get out of here.
You cannot see through them.
I thought you could.
No, because when you ignore terrain, the rulebook says about that there are terrains that you can ignore and others that you cannot. So you ignore impassable and hazardous and severe, I think.
Oh,
okay. Good to know.
I did not know that.
But you don't
so it's
ignore
in
blocking.
The rulebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then probably the biggest ability that I think I get the most out of, and I think you'd agree, Bartek, is the Student of All ability, where you get to pitch a card. If there is an elemental within 6 inches of you, you can go ahead and pitch a card at the beginning of an academic's activation to have basically that elemental do an action. The line of sight and range is drawn from the academic, but you can tell your elemental to charge, you can tell them to interact, you can do lots of things, tell them to do actions, tosses, all sorts of fun stuff.
That is the bane of my
fantastic.
existence. Yeah, that's the bane of my existence. I've gotten used to it by now a little bit, but it's still like, all right, what are you activating? What are you doing? Obey.
And if you haven't played against Sandeep before, either version, there's also the mantra. So whenever, and this is just a general thing for the keyword, whenever an elemental concentrates, if you're within 6 inches of an academic, it triggers their mantra to then happen as well. So that's when we're talking about like pitching a card to do an action, or if we're talking about concentrating to do something, that's going to be what we're referencing through this podcast. So try to keep up, folks. There's a lot going on with Sandeep, and I would say also the cool thing about this version of Sandeep Bartek is that he's also an elemental now.
Oh yes.
So you can do all this with him.
Yes, you can do all of this with him, and being
can
an
obey
elemental, yeah. Banasuva it's command the elements, I think, or Lord of the Elements.
Yes, Lord of the Elements.
Yeah, Lord of
I
the
like-
Elements. So
I like
he
to say
can-
Lord of the Underworld is what I say when I do it. Yeah, Sandeep, he kind of gets all that going. He is just a really solid kind of. He's really weird because he can be a support master, but he's also like he can be pretty offensive as well. So when you do a Sandeep activation, I mean, obviously we're gonna do all the corner case situations, but I don't know about you, but a lot of my actions are spent on Aetheric Control, which is the Shockwave action, and then his bonus Moment of Reflection to do whatever shenanigans I need to do. So do you want to kind of explain how you use Sandeep Font of Magic, Bartek?
Well, that's pretty much it. I usually use free actions to drop free shockwaves. If well, the shockwaves. So you haven't told that, so I will take the liberty and say it. You don't drop a shockwave marker. You drop ice pillar, spire marker, or scrap marker, and depending on the type of marker you choose, you get different effects. So if my opponent is grouped up, I can drop 3 pyre markers, so they suffer like 4-6 damage and a lot of burning, and they are standing in pyre marker now. So that's fantastic. And ice pillars also are okay, because you can drop an ice pillar when you want to, I don't know, break line of sight to something. Recently, I had to kill a model that was standing inside Yenza and her aura that makes models immortal. So I just dropped an ice pillar, and now I can kill the model.
Yep.
And scrap markers, you can drop scrap markers which make enemies stunned. So you can stun enemy riders, which is fantastic.
Yep.
And it's a single action, so you can see there are 3 different effects on a single action, which really builds the versatility of Sandeep and his keyword.
Yeah, and I think kind of what people need to realize is it's a shockwave off of that marker. So when you put these markers down, kind of like what you alluded to, you know, that pyre marker is a 50 mil base. So it's 2 inches off of that is the shockwave. So there's been a lot of times where I'm hitting like 5 or 6 models with that shockwave just because of how massive it is. And it's a move 13 duel. So most models are going to need an 8 to pass it. So to me, this is a lot more gross than say Wong, because Wong, you know, it's like, oh, I think you take 2 damage or something like that, or you know, it's not that big of a deal. But no, you're not only taking 2 damage, but you're getting 2 burning every time you fail these. And there's been many times where it's like, yep, I'm just going to put 3 shockwaves right there, right in the middle of your crew, and next thing you know, everything has taken like 4 damage and 4 burning, or you know, 2 damage and 2 burning, and the crew's really starting to look a little lean.
You also have the ability to give mass stagger, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, from his demise.
Yeah, so you can do the demise. So you can do just an unresisted one if you're close enough. His demise, if you're next to Banasuva when you concentrate, you can just put staggered, you know, just on a model within 1 inch of a marker. That's 6 inches away, essentially. And then if you bring Kendara, which we'll talk about her as we go through like lists and stuff, you can discard a card with Student of All to do Kendara's gun to put out staggered on models, and then you can start the shockwave nonsense.
That's the nonsense that I was talking about.
And that's just the beginning.
Yeah, and I've shot my own model and pulsed out staggered that way. So
I have never thought about this. That's fantastic.
Yeah, because you just be like, oh, yeah. I hit with a 2. Yeah. So you can do unresisted, which is pretty fun.
So you can't blast off of friendly models, but you can sure as heck do pulses.
Can you hit Sandeep himself? I mean, so it's Kantara making the attack, so she can hit Sandeep.
Yeah, I think you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a
Quick,
Zoraida
shoot me
player,
in the back.
yeah, as a Zoraida player, I can tell you can target yourself, quote unquote, when you're doing
see.
the arc node thing.
Zoraida nonsense.
Yeah,
Sounds deep nonsense.
Yeah. And also the scrap marker, we'll talk about the different golems as we go down kind of the lists here, but if you bring the metal golem or anything else with Ride the Rails, you can use Aetheric Control and put a scrap marker down 10 inches away to set up that nasty walk action. So something else you can do. I frequent the rail golem or the metal golem, so it's good fun.
Yeah, I was down on him, but he's very solid for the damage, even though he's stat 5, just because of the plus flip on the attack.
Yeah, the stat 5 does hurt because there are instances where you flip a 12 and someone cheats a 13 and you're just like, well, missed. Okay, moving on.
Yep.
The other big action that you're going to have with Sandeep is his bonus. It's 14 inches. You don't need line of sight for whatever reason. And it's friendly only, so you can target even when you bring out a keyword models like, I don't know, Cassandra. She's a popular one. But it ignores line of sight, and you get to choose 2 of the following effects. So you can either heal 1, shield 1, or move 1. So essentially that could be heal 2, shield 2, move 2. And you can pick any combination of that. So you can use that to get out of melee ranges. You can use that to put a shield on something that you think is going to be a hot target. And then the biggest one is you can heal. It doesn't seem like a lot, but when you bring like Cassandra and heal like 4 a turn, it's pretty good.
That's a frustrating part because it comes with a trigger. This is not 4 a turn; it's 8 a turn with Cassandra.
Well, not only that, it's a built-in trigger, right?
That's the reason why.
You have swift action, which you get to do it again. So you're healing 4 with Sandeep. If you bring Cassandra, you're healing another 4.
Yeah. That's a full 8-point model. That's
And you only need a 4 to do this.
Yes. Yeah, and he's very low intensive as far as like a master, because you only need a 5 on Aetheric Control and you only need a 4 on Moment of Reflection. So, pretty not very card intensive. So the other trigger though that people I think definitely want to pay attention to, especially in your list building, is the warp elements for the Moment of Reflection, because you can pay for like a little 4 soulstone ice gammon, and you can just use warp the elements turn 1 or turn 2 to switch that then into a wind gammon, which wind gammons are just better at scheming. They're faster. They also have a sweet demise that we'll talk about when we get to the gammon and golems, because the demise abilities on a lot of these golems and a lot of these models really make the list kind of sing.
Yeah, especially the wing golem.
Yeah, we'll talk about my MVP here later. But yeah, so it's a very, like, when you activate Sandeep, it's really I think his best activations are early in game. Like, I don't know if you agree, Bartek, but I seem to get like set up the pace of the game by really putting those shockwaves out turn 1 and turn 2 and just causing as much mayhem as possible.
Yeah, because you are probably going to hit something turn 1, and if your opponent plays carelessly, you can discard the card so the Banasuva tosses you. Even if he's standing 6 inches away, he just tosses Sandeep 10 inches forward. Then Sandeep drops 3 shockwaves and casts Moment of Reflection on himself, I don't know, twice to go back 4 inches. Yep. And so suddenly you are... I can see Dixon's face right now.
To the listeners, I'm over here just shaking my head in disgust. I'm just... Because I've seen all the... Like, I apologized before because I thought he was a bad master, but my God, I've been suffering through him for like the last 6 months.
And here's the funny thing, kind of to give an example of what Bartek just said. So my round 1, I played against Doug, who's on Danger Planet, and it was funny because one of his friends told him Friday night, hey, here's this Sandeep stuff. You need to be careful of this because, you know, it's pretty good. And a couple of people are going to be running it at this tournament. And Doug drew me round 1. And, of course, I'm playing Sandeep the whole weekend. So he's like, yeah, yes, they told me about this list. And, you know, we'll see how it goes. And he played Yoko 2. And he didn't bunch up in a circle, but he had like a line as he kind of came out of his deployment zone. It was like a line of his 10 Thunder crap, right? Which is still, with a Pyre marker, is still kind of bunching up because you're all still pretty close to each other. So turn 1, I just unloaded. I just dropped, I think, after discarding for Student of All and Lord of the Elements and my 3 Aetheric controls, I think almost everything except for Yoko was on fire and had some damage on him. Turn 1, and he was like, "This is a lot worse than I thought it was."
So you told me after the game that one Pyre marker could hit 5 models. That's how close he was. Even though, because his list was like 8 models. Yeah. And I was like, that's a significant amount of cards that your opponent's getting rid of. Like, that's so many.
And something, well, yeah, because, and that's the thing people don't realize, like, you don't want these shockwaves to hit all of your models. So you are going to be using some of the cards in your hand. After Sandeep's activation, I've had it very much where my opponents only had 1 or 2 cards left in their hand for the rest of the turn, right? This is after you do your initial assault. And even models...
we are talking about the very first activation, right?
Yeah.
Because
why not? Yeah, this is turn 1. Yeah, because like you said, you can toss yourself 10 inches up, move 4 inches back, and usually you're safe enough in that position where, you know, it'll be okay. But before you get going, Dixon, I just wanted to mention that he did have a Terracotta Warrior, and I was going to say even models that don't either they ignore the markers, or if they you know, have armor, or if they're incorporeal or whatever, these shockwaves are still good against them because even though they ignore the marker, they'll still gain the condition if they fail the duel. So Terracotta Warriors, of course, they didn't get the condition, but they were still taking 2 damage, well, 1 damage for each thing, which they only have like 3 or 4 hitboxes. So.
3, yeah.
Go ahead, Dixon.
So the question is something that came to me in the weekend. Can you guys describe the whole toss thing? I know how it works, but I don't know how to explain it very well. You know how, like, you're saying Sandeep gets tossed by Banasuba. So how explain that process? How you do that turn 1?
I'll let you explain it, Bartek. It's fun.
Okay, so as we said, Students of All, it allows you to discard a card and force a friendly elemental to take an action. So Banasuba has a toss action, and he can toss Sandeep, but as the line of sight is drawn from the model discarding the card, so it was Sandeep who discarded the card, so you measure the line of sight from himself, and he is within an inch of himself, so you can target him with it.
Yeah, so he's just like, am I Sandeep? Do I want to be tossed? Well, and he just kind of throws himself at the melee. Yeah, so it's a really... And it is so hard to avoid Sandeep's turn 1. Like, if I want to engage somewhere with all these shockwaves from Aetheric control with Sandeep turn 1, you can put yourself there just because of that toss ability from, like, Banasuva, which we'll get into Banasuva now since we're kind of talking about it. The toss is just really good for that opening kind of iteration. So I would just say even first activation... I haven't done it a lot because, honestly, I don't want to be that guy. But there's a lot of instances, like if you're in flank or wedge, I could literally toss Sandeep and first activation just throw down Pyres in the middle of your crew.
It's a free to walk. Yeah. Like well, it's not free because you have to discard a card, but it's basically discard. Yeah, but
you're gonna have 7. You're gonna have 7 cards. You're all right.
Yeah, discard a card, move 10 inches is disgusting. I know because I do it with the Kurgan all the time, and it's still like. Filthy. It's just filthy.
Yep, pretty much. But looking at his totem, I think Banasuva is. I don't know if you agree with this, Bartek, but I think he's probably the linchpin of this. This crew.
He is. You have to keep him safe for like turn 1 to 3. something like this.
Well, and that's why I think, because he does have flurry, and I think that's actually a trap. I think if you're going in like aggressively trying to kill something with your tear apart melee, and you want to try to flurry, I think that's a trap because you don't want him in the mix too often because he is so important.
Yeah,
Well,
after playing
not-
against you, I've seen you flurry once and never again.
He's actually he has a flurry and he has the potential to deal 5 attacks.
Yeah.
So why not? You can do this, but I tend to do it when someone comes close and
Yep.
I know that I can hit him in the safety of my own crew.
Yep.
Or it's turn 4, turn 5 when there is no bubble and my models are spread out, so I can just send Banasuva and
Yeah, that's the
maybe
only
kill
time I
something.
do it is in the tournament over the weekend. I used it once the whole weekend, and that was to get my cursed point on a survivor that kind of jumped in the middle of my crew. And I was like, all right, well, Banasuva is going to slap you a bunch. And then I commanded the Lord of the Elements to have my wind golem finish it off. So that was fun.
Yeah, because you can also cast Lord of the Elements on yourself, which is quite fun.
Mhm.
So you get one more attack, and you can discard the card with Banasuva to start off with an attack, let's say.
Yes. So he is an academic. So he has the ability to discard to have another elemental do an action.
Yeah, he can be on both sides of Students of All.
Yep. Yeah, which is really nice. And his mantra is really what kind of gets this crew singing, because if you're within 6 inches of Banasuva and you concentrate, you get to resolve your demise ability without being killed, which is huge.
Yeah, I think it will unravel through this episode as we talk about the different demise abilities. But yeah, we talked about Sandeep, and he can stagger everyone in a huge bubble.
I think the big one is really from either the Wind Gammon or Wind Golem,
Oh yeah,
which lets you place a friendly model 4 inches away.
yeah, and that's important to mention that the golem or the gamin can also place themselves.
Yep.
Because why not? So instead of walking 6 inches with the golem, you just concentrate and place yourself within 4, which is almost the same.
Yep.
And yeah, there are others. There are other demise abilities, but they are not so spectacular, I think.
Yeah, definitely the wind is the one that I think sticks out the most for sure. But he has Breath of Fire, which is okay. I use that occasionally. And then, of course, I think a lot of it is either tear apart. Actually, I don't know. Breath of Fire comes up decently often. The toss is a big one. And then, of course, his bonus, just Lord of the Elements. I've used that to get another concentrate on a model. I've used that to get another attack. I think a popular one early on in the game is to Lord of the Elements Sandeep to put another shockwave down. Because it's not non-master, you can just do it again.
You can do it again twice because you can discard the card so that Sandeep drops another shockwave.
Yeah.
It's measured from Banasuva, but if someone's close, why not?
Oh no, my range 12 attacks. Whatever shall I do?
And this is why when you see like load 'em up in the pool, I think load 'em up is a pretty safe scheme for Sandeep because you can put 5 markers down in 1 turn. Just with Sandeep.
Yeah, just with Sandeep. Yeah. Then Banasuva can concentrate and use his own demise to drop like the 6th.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing in Banasuba, in my opinion, is toss. Like, every single time I play against Banasuba, I want to kill it, but toss then makes it... Like we talked about it with Hinamatsu, you just chucked her into a corner. And like she's fast.
Well, so
but it still takes her 2 walks.
That's kind of why I think Sandeep's crew is interesting, right? Because I can sit here and be like, okay, do I want to spend resources to kill this model? All right, let's kill it. And if not, I can be like, all right, I'm probably going to have to waste too much crap into Hinamatsu or this model or that model. Oh, you're size 2 and not guild and no laugh off? Okay, you're going to go 10 inches that way.
Yeah, yeet, as the kids say. But yeah, every single time I play, there's two things that I gotta watch out for: is Balasuba within 6 inches of the wind golem or the metal golem, depending on the situation. Because like I don't like random targeting beacons in the middle of my crew. Like he drops a scrap marker in the middle of my crew and then acts like he doesn't know what's that for. It's like,
well, it's funny. Well, it's actually funny though. So that's one of the things I actually like about the metal golem is I'll throw a scrap marker in the middle of somebody's crew just to freak them out. And I don't plan on going over there, but I'm just like, hey, that'll be good for later. And it just freaks your opponent out, and you just see him scatter away from it. It's pretty funny.
Yes, or put something big enough on top of it. That's what I used to, with big bad juju. I would just sit on it. It's like, well, you have to be in base to base. So
yeah, then you're gonna activate like I don't know an Oxfordian mage and says, okay, so I discard the card and the metal golem concentrates. And why would you do that?
So you do use Oxfordian mages. We never had success with any of them.
Oh yes,
I hate the
do
Oxfordian mage.
So I sometimes I run a list that consists of an Oxfordian mage and 3 golems and pretty much nothing else. And I keep Banasuva, the mage, and Sandeep somewhere in the back, so they function like a makeshift hospital. So whenever I can see that there is a golem up front that is going to die, so I pull it back, concentrate a couple times, and now he's healthy again.
Yeah, and that's kind of so. I see lines of play where I like the Oxfordian mage. I think, though, a lot of instances where I'd like it is to remove conditions, but then you have to activate it early, so that can be a little cumbersome, and it's pretty squishy. The times that I've brought it, it gets kind of scalpeled out quickly because it's not as survivable as the Shastar Guard, which I guess is where we can go, because I think you're going to bring one or the other in Sandeep. And I'm in the Shastar Guard camp just because I think that they're really freaking good. The reason why I like the Shastar Guard is because, well, one, I think the reason why you bring one of these two, either the Shastar or the Oxfordian Mage, is because you can put Arcane Reservoir on them by putting the upgrade on them. And gives you the 7th card, gives them shielded and counterspell, all that good stuff. But the reason why I like the Shastar Guard is for a few reasons. One, it is a stocky little minion. Like, it's stat 6 willpower and defense. It is arcane shield 1, so it's going to be arcane shield 2. It has hard to kill, so it's actually pretty hard to kill, ironically, right? And then its mantra gives you 2-inch pushes when you concentrate, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I had somebody comment to me over the weekend where they were like, once I saw how much movement you were getting out of his mantra Traveler, I had to kill that thing. You were getting so much effective movement, like getting models in and out of combat, getting up the board, getting to, the covert markers and all this other stuff. But I wouldn't say the sneaky, but the good thing is if I have a crap hand, the warrior on the guard is so freaking good. Like, if you have a focus on him, which I always do, just whenever you cheat against your opponent, you get to draw a card after that in the duel. Just really good.
Brother,
really good.
I was ready to pounce on you if you didn't say that, because many times in our games that's happened where you're like, I chuck a disc, I cheat a 1. I chuck another disc, I cheat a 1. I'm like, I hate this so much. This is what I do to people with Lucas McCabe. Is this really how it feels?
Yeah, and he also he's a sneaky tech piece for armor piercing as well. His sword is 2/4/5, so obviously the 2 damage kind of sucks, but when you start hitting moderate or severe and you have the armor piercing trigger, you can really start taking care of some tanky models.
Yeah. I mean, I do think it's sneaky. Yeah, I do think it's sneaky because even against Hinamatsu, I forgot about it. If it wasn't for Soul Stones, I would have probably been dead.
Yeah, so if you have a high tome, you're just like, yep, let's go ahead and armor pierce this. And the Chakram, I usually only do that Chakram range attack if I get the trigger for quick shot. I usually don't do that by itself. However, I almost did kill the Victorias with the Chakram. I spiked to 4 damage, which kicked down to 2 damage, but it almost killed them. So I was like, that was probably the best Chakram shot I ever had.
Dude, that's awesome.
It has a built-in ricochet, so if you would like to hit something that's well hidden, or I don't know, it's in stealth, you can do this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I've read Jokered on that thing by luck, and it's because it's like you usually do it to hit something that's like behind a wall or something you can't see normally, and like I remember hitting that for like I forgot what it was. I think it was like the luck effigy or something, and it feels really good.
Yeah, and the guard I just always get solid work out of. I'm not even like when a master dives on the Shastar guard, I'm not scared it's going to die. I know it could die. But a lot of times I'm just kind of like, I think it only died twice this weekend. It died to the Vix diving on it, and then Maw 2 harpooned it into a pit trap, which sucked. But
yeah.
I was like, you monster.
In my experience, it was the fact that he had the counterspell mixed in with the shielded.
Well, made it hard to take down. Dude, he's stat 6, which is huge on this minion, right?
Yes.
Every time I've brought the Oxfordian Mage, it just gets blown up.
And it's only like the difference is only 1. It's defense 5, but it's also health 5. If I remember something.
I think it's 6 on the mage.
It is 6. So it doesn't hit the bracket of 7 because 7. I've talked about this before, but there's certain brackets that you have to hit for a model to be like good, and like 7 seems to be like that good, number.
Yeah, but you've got 2 shielded.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with the fact that it has some defensive measures, but for some reason 6, even with the shielded and stuff like that, just doesn't get there.
However, I do like your little triage that you set up there, Bartek, because especially if you have 3 golems and you're just being offensive with them, and then, it's like, okay, I'm going to bring you back to kind of my safe little bubble. That's definitely probably a better line of play than just kind of, being in the mix, because the Oxfordian Mage doesn't have the legs to kind of hang out in a fight. It's easy to pick off.
I tend to keep the mage safe, and they don't die so often. But I think it boils down to playstyles, because when you like to cage up, then you can afford to take a mage, and you want to spread out and be everything everywhere at once. So take a Shastar.
Do you use the triggers on the Elemental Bolt? Do you use Elemental Bolt at all?
No, not really. And I know there is a trigger. It's elemental transference. Let me check. Yeah, elemental transference. No, I have never used it.
Okay.
He's there to heal stuff up.
I just want to make sure if I try him again, I want to do it right.
I use Arcane Conduit. I don't know how to pronounce it. Arcane
Conduit.
Yeah. Conduit. Because when someone is staggered, I lose a lot of mobility, and I like mobility in this crew. So I think that's the only way in this crew to remove conditions.
Yeah. So that's the only time I've brought the Oxfordian Mage is when I played against like Pandora or something, and I'm like, okay, I kind of want that to get rid of some of these conditions.
Yeah, that's right. Mages, I think they were quite popular with Sandeep 1, because when you summon a Gamin, they are summoned with slow.
Yep.
So you can get rid of this slow. So we can combine the free Gamin into a Golem and get rid of slow. So you get a full activation turn 1.
I think the next model that I want to talk about is one that I don't know about you, but I don't see a reason not to bring it, is the Four Winds Golem. I always bring this model.
Yeah, I usually start building my list from Four Winds Golem, 2 Soulstone Caches, and Magical Training, because he's fantastic. It's nothing weak, nothing.
I had lists where I wasn't bringing Soulstone Cache on the Four Winds Golem, but then I kind of really started getting use out of it, because not only can you use it to reduce damage, but the bigger thing is he kind of collects soul stones for me.
Yes.
Like he just dunks like a little cheap model and be like, cool, that's soul stone. I get a soul stone here. Like I think throughout the games, I usually get about 3 to 4 soul stones with him.
Against me, you got 3 soul stones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember playing against Hamelin, and Forwin's Golem was just jumping from a rat to rat. I think I killed 4
funny.
rats in an activation.
Just dunk a rat.
Yeah, so he's I'd say probably some of his highlights are specifically he gets the chi mechanic because he's dual keyword with monk, but his chi just lets him get a positive flip. It doesn't let him build in a suit or plus it by 2. He just gets a positive to the duel. But every time you concentrate, or every time a friendly model within 8 concentrates, he gets to just stack those chi tokens up to 3. So it caps at 3 because otherwise, in Sandeep specifically, it'd get ridiculous with how much chi you would get. I think the biggest thing, though, we'll talk about the back of his card, but on the front of his card is his demise ability, which, of course, you can place a model within 4 inches of itself. So it's like mini pseudo leaps that you get for pretty much your, well, no, I mean, it is a pseudo leap, but for every model in your crew, if they concentrate, or sorry, if the 4 Winds Golem concentrates, you get to do that 4-inch place.
Yeah, that's really nasty, and
So
it
super nasty.
opens up so many vectors of attack that my opponents rarely can expect.
Yeah, and I use that on, and there's so many lines of play you can do with it, but I had last activation with Sandeep in round 6, and it was turn 5, and I needed one more scheme marker, but Maw 2 was engaging Sandeep, so I was kind of locked down, right? So I just moved the Wind Golem next to Maw, did some Wind Golem stuff, but then when Sandeep activated, I pitched a card, told the Wind Golem to concentrate, got me out of combat. I double walked and dropped a scheme marker for my spread them out point. So just lines of play like that, just simple lines of play where it's like, oh yeah, I need to be over there. Whoop, let's concentrate, and now my important model's over there because the Wind Golem.
As an opponent, he is so hard to pin down.
Yeah, his butterfly jump.
Yeah, no. I was talking about. Sorry,
Oh.
I mean it's Sandeep too because of the Wind Golem. He's so
sure.
hard to pin down. Like you have to kill him. Like you have to give him stagger, and even stagger won't actually like keep him pinned because you guys have multiple ways to have Sandeep himself move himself, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's so frustrating. So.
Coming back to Sandeep, when Sandeep did his Alpha Strike, when he got pushed by Banasova and dealt 3 shockwaves and walked with his bonus action 4 inches back, your opponent has to take care of him immediately, because if not, he's back in his deployment zone. I just activate a golem, concentrate, and now he's back. We're back at square one, but you're burning 6 on everything.
That is actually a good point. Exactly what you said happens to me all the time. So I'm kind of curious, Pete, how did Angel did it that you could not rescue Sandeep before it dies?
Because he first turn activated Brewmaster.
Yeah.
First activation Brewmaster turn 2.
Right.
And he just deleted Sandeep in one
one
go.
activation?
Wait,
How?
that's exactly why I'm curious. It's like you never want to.
So he pulled him out turn 1. He had a 13 in his hand to lure him out turn 1. He had last activation, so he kind of doubled up on it, right?
Right.
So he got him out turn 1, put some damage on him, like maybe just a couple. But Sandeep only has like 11 hit points. And then I played low stones because I thought it'd be funny, and it was. But I built a list with 0 stones, Bartek, and just brought 2 soulstone miners.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's a risky play. It can pay off, but
it would have if I got.
Cuts.
Well, I drew. Well, and I think I would have been okay, but I drew my hand right, and it was like really bad. Like I think my highest card was like an 8, and I was like, "Ooh, this isn't good."
Ooh, that's
and
not good.
I had 2 soul stones, and I was like, I think I need more cards, so I stoned for cards to put me at 1 soul stone, and I only drew like a 10, and I was like, this is not good. And I was like, I think I'm still okay if Angel didn't draw like a gas hand, right?
Right.
But he did. He had like I think he had a couple 13s and like a 11 or something. So he stoned for the liver damage and did like somewhere around 15 damage to Sandeep to kill him.
Jeez. Oh my god.
Yeah. So, and I think he even had an action because he used his blood poisoning or whatever to kill him.
Okay.
So I think he even had an action to just walk away after he did it. Just kind of like, yep, I did that, and walk away.
So what you're describing is just basically a perfect storm. So unfortunately,
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I said it was a gamble. I mean, I have no problem playing little dicey sometimes, and sometimes it pays off for my play style. Sometimes you get caught with your pants down, and that's what happened. But yeah, so I didn't have an opportunity to activate and kind of get back to the crew. And actually, so the funny thing is, at the end of turn 1, where before Angel kind of drew me out a little bit, I had Sandeep in my crew. Like, he was kind of by my Wind Golem, by Bonasuva, and I was kind of like pocketed in, but because of that lure, I mean, I think it's a stat 6 or something lure on Brewmaster, so it's pretty decent, and it gives some poison out, and it was able to pull me out of my crew. And since he got first activation turn 2, he was able to, do well with that.
Yeah, and I don't think there are really good ways to keep Sandeep safe. I mean, we don't have LLC in Arcanists, and we don't have a decent take the hit, so I mean, you can try.
You gotta take like a
taking
mannequin out of keyword.
yeah.
But that was banned, so I couldn't do that.
Oh,
In any case, you could have saved them had you had a high card in your hand, or like it was like a couple of things just perfectly aligned. Because I was like shocked by that, because I've seen you come out of like nasty crap before. As soon as you told me it was like my highest card was a 10, I was like, oh, I was like, that makes sense.
And yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like if Angel didn't have a stacked hand, I think I would have been okay there.
Yeah.
But then I had a crap hand, and then he was able to get me out of there. And it's just, I mean, at the end of that, I was just kind of like, well, I got to try to make this game. So let's get to work. But going back to the Wind Golem, his attack actions are amazing. Up We Go has 2, 3, 4 damage. It's your typical Up We Go, but it has a collision trigger and pouncing strike. So collision trigger is good for killing hard to kill models. I found that really good for that.
Oh yeah.
And collision is also on his Wind Blast, which is a nice little 1, 3, 4 damage.
Oh, he's built in.
And that one's built in, yeah. So that's pretty good. And it doesn't come up a lot of times, but Gale Force randomly will remove markers that are problematic. I've used that to get rid of like hungry land markers that Dixon drops. And he has leap just because, he's a windy boy, so he can leap around.
I like to. It's hard to pull off, but sometimes it comes out quite funny when you bring I don't know, an ice golem, and you manage to pop up a blizzard. Then you can up we go someone into the blizzard or into the vents team, and suddenly we are talking about minimum of 6 damage per attack.
That's what I did. That's what I did to Dixon with Hildegrad, because Hildegrad doesn't let me use my focus. So I was like, okay, she has to die. So I ended up like picking Hildegrad up, dumping her, getting the collision trigger, dumping her into vent steam, and I think she died off of 1 hit.
Well, you did 5 damage in 1 hit.
Yeah,
from 3 different sources of damage, and then you just slapped her slightly once, and that was it. I was shocked. As soon as he hit me the first time, I was like, "Oh, she's dead. Oh, this is not good." Oh, but yeah, as soon as you started talking about the blizzard, it just reminded me exactly of that moment where Hildy just died.
Vietnam flashbacks.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's what I'm saying. There's so many lines of play with Sandeep where there's all these layers, and I've had it before where I've had 2 vent steam bubbles up because you can discard, and then the vent steam stays on the model that discarded, and then the metal golem can do it to put it up where he is. So that doesn't come up often, but it can happen.
Don't do this with Blizzard, because when you're gonna walk around in your own Blizzard, you're gonna get busted.
Yeah, you got to be very careful. There was a game I played against Lance where I put Blizzard up and I shoved the Ice Golem into his Shenlong crew. And we played this mini game for the entire turn where we kept pushing it back and forth because he was playing Shenlong. So he blew the Ice Golem back into my crew, and then I'd push it back into his crew, and then he'd blow it back into mine. It was just this giant, like, I don't want it kind of game.
Hot potato, as it were.
Pretty much. So it's just so funny. But yeah, the Wind Golem is just so good. It's
And he's got middle of the storm. We didn't talk about this. And
it came clutch in my game against him, and it came clutch in one more game. I think it was Ma, because like middle of the storm also lowers her damage or something. You told me about.
And it was good even when it's not doing anything. It's good because it forces bad shots to the point where they don't take it. Like I wasn't even scared of Fuhatsu because I had everybody in the middle of the storm. So I was like, yeah, I mean, if you want to shoot my stuff, I'll take 1 damage. I don't care.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
He said something about like he was the MVP the entire weekend. Do you have any like at least 2 key moments that make you proud of your boy?
You talking about me this weekend?
Yeah, because like literally, Bartek, literally the entire weekend he was just like singing the praises of the Wind Golem because like it was his MVP.
I think everybody should do this like all the time. When you're playing Sandeep, you should be humming a song of praise for Wind Golem.
Yeah, I think probably the highlight for me was really Game 6 because Game 6 I was definitely tilted. And I was like, because he dove Maw 2 into the middle of my crew and was just kind of sitting there being a problem. So the Wind Golem let me disengage from that. So it let me kind of get models away from Maw to spread out so she couldn't just be a pain for my whole crew. And then I just shot the Wind Golem out, start hunting down Bushwhackers, the Survivor, the Rockhopper. The Wind Golem killed the Rockhopper, so that was definitely good.
Oh, yeah. Because, like, shockingly, he doesn't ignore armor, but he might as well ignore armor.
I mean, he gets so much just ping damage because I was just kind of putting stuff in fire. I was, repositioning stuff, getting soul stones. Yeah, I think if I didn't have the Wind Golem, I'd probably lose that last game just because of how flexible and just he helped my crew kind of work around that problem that is Maw Tucket.
For me, the biggest advantage of the Throw-Ins Golem lies in the mobility of this crew, because you can move the Golem, like you can walk him twice before he even activates. Yeah. That means you've got, and probably give him focus +2 and 3 Chi tokens. So you've got to activate in the middle of the board, charge virtually anyone, bring him back, and leap back. So you've kidnapped a model with like 0 sacrifice.
Yeah, and I do think it's a mistake if you don't bring the Wind Golem. I know that there are some people that will skimp on points to bring the Wind Gammon, which the Wind Gammon still does what the Wind Golem does for the demise, but that's pretty much it, because the Wind Gammon is pretty much a scheme runner. It's going to run you the schemes. It's going to maybe get a little bit of damage in there, but for the most part, it's there for the demise trigger to place a model within 4 and then scheme, and that's kind of it.
Yep. Also, like, people think that he's almost as equally to keep alive. No, it's not true. It's Wind Gammon is like less than half of the cost, but it's so much easier. Like it takes a fifth of the amount of effort to kill.
Yeah, that's right. I have to agree totally. Sometimes I play a list with a Wind Golem and 3 Ice Gamin. Then turn by turn, I change one of the Ice Gamin into a Wind Gamin.
Yep.
So I've got 3 Wind Gamins for the cost of 12 points, and they are great scheme runners.
Yeah, I had. In the Carve a Path game, I literally had 1 Wind Gammon running both carve markers in that game.
Nice.
How?
because you can do out of activation actions, so you toss a card to have it push the rock, and then it has a leap, so you just go, I'm going to push, leap, push, and I just did that for the rest of the game, and it worked out fine.
My God, Pete, it's like you make that You make that strategy way too easy to sound. Like you make it sound like it's easy.
It's easy.
You guys
With
suck.
Sandeep,
Well, it's kind of one of those things where you can really. I try to gauge where my opponent is sending the markers, and in that game, he just sent it off to the right. So I was like, all right, I'm going to run it to the left with my wind gammon, and if he wants to challenge that, I'll send like the wind golem over there to clear it out. And he ended up kind of fighting in the middle, so I didn't even really have to do that. And yeah, I didn't get all 4 points, but I had 3 points off that. So, and it was just a little wind gammon that did it. So yeah, going into, since we're talking about golems, so I do prefer to always bring wind golem. Then off of that, you kind of have 3 options. I feel like in most Sandeep lists, you're going to bring 2 golems. One of them is going to be the wind, and then it's going to be it's going to be what's your flavor for the others. Out of the 3 that's left, so you have the fire, the ice, and the metal. Do you have a favorite golem that you like to bring?
definitely my favorite, well, my second favorite is the Ice Golem, because he's the heavy hitter. He's quite self-sustainable because he can eat all these ice pillars and heal himself. So I have a free soulstone cache for Banasuva. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, dealing 7 damage on on one hit, it's all I need from this guy.
Yeah, I mean, if you have an ice pillar nearby, it's going to be min 4 damage with the huge fist. Lord forbid if anything has slow, I mean, it's just going to destroy models if it has slow.
Yeah, and he's got 3 attacks potentially if you place him right, so he's quite nice.
Min 4 alone makes this model great in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's the splashy damage. So you just have to recognize that once people play against Sandeep, there's going to probably be a little armor piercing in their list, because if you have armor piercing, the ice golem's not very hard to deal with. You have to be very careful positioning, because if you just throw the ice golem out there, it's going to die to armor piercing. It's only defense 4, so they're going to hit it most times, and it's only got 9 hitboxes. So if they start doing 4 or 5 damage with armor piercing, it's going to die pretty quick. It can go away in 1 activation with a master who ignores armor.
Yeah, you can definitely kill him in 1 activation with, I don't know, Gunsmith.
Shenlong killed him in 1 activation. It made me sad.
Masters they definitely can, but not even masters. You've got something with high stats and 2, 4, 5 spread. You can do this.
So in our games, freaking Pandora using its own attack against himself, freaking Ma ignoring armor, just period, end of story. And there was one more, Pete. Do you remember? I think it was it was your Hoffman 2 when I was playing Sandeep. Yeah, Hoffman 2 would just be like, yeah, just lasering him. Anyway, but you gotta be careful about that.
Well, the cool thing about this, right, is you can do Student of All, right, and you have Lord of the Elements. So if you get in a situation, you can really get 5 Ice Golem attacks a turn.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had Sandeep punch stuff as the Ice Golem. That feels good. Because they don't, like, Sandeep's engaging something, and you go, cool, the Ice Golem's going to attack through Sandeep. Punch!
What poor soul did you do that to?
I don't remember, but it was fun.
It sounds fun.
My absolutely favorite trick is when someone stands within 2 inches of my academic. So okay, you're not gonna hit me. You don't have 2-inch melee attack, and I discard the card and I attack him with Wind Golem. So yeah, now you're here.
Yep, feels good.
That does not feel good at all.
I think my favorite golem, just because of counterplay, honestly, is sadly becoming the fire golem. It doesn't have as spiky damage as the other 2, but
it's
using
3, 4,
the
5?
fire, 3, 4, 5. And I just think that, 1, putting out more burning puts a lot of pressure on your opponent. the games that I play the fire golem, I played against Jim, and Jim is like, the pressure that burning puts on a crew when you play the fire golem is really severe. Like, it's bad with just Sandeep, but when you also have the fire golem putting out, 2-3 burning when it hits you is also pretty bad. Plus it's bringing a pyre marker with it usually. So, and when people bring armor piercing specifically, reducing damage through fire is actually better, because it's like they brought all this anti-armor tech for the ice golem or the metal golem, and the fire golem just doesn't care. It's just like, cool, well, I still have armor too, essentially, because I'm gonna have like burning 20 by the end of this game on it. So it's pretty good.
Walk, drop the pyre marker on top of yourself, walk on pyre marker, say yes to the fire. Like, it's so dumb. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
And he's got another shockwave if you want to go this way.
Yeah,
So
right.
you've got someone staggered already, then make him suffer
so
more.
He
and
can
when
teleport to enemy models, right?
Oh yeah, yes,
I
that's
gotta
right.
double check.
You can do it to any model that has burning.
Okay.
So it can be friendly or enemy. And it's his bonus, it's draw off the flames, which I've had that come in clutch before.
Okay.
Because you place base to base with the burning target, but then you remove, I think it's up to 3 burning off the model and put it on the fire golem. And then you can just go in and just smash something with your huge flaming fists.
Yep.
The flame tornado is okay. I usually don't go that route. I usually kind of position to either, you can scheme decent with the fire golem because it's so mobile,
Right.
but 3, 4, 5 is still good where you're going to threaten a lot of models.
The big thing that I noticed with that just now, it's a tactical. There's no resist. That seems gross to me. And again, I think we have forgotten the dangers of Karis, because I haven't seen Karis in a while, and I don't think she's bad now. So yeah, fire golem may be a problem.
I think other masters are stronger than Keris, so that's why we don't see her often. She had her moment with the Watchman, when you could have given her free focus.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that Karis is interesting, and we'll kind of talk about it later, because there's kind of a list where Angel mentioned to me that you can bring Sandeep as a double master with either Rasputin or Karis, and that makes her pretty interesting.
If like, I got ill when he told me like what he wanted to do to me. I'm like, no, please.
Yeah, and it's just funny because, I mean, Sandeep just gets so much more pyre markers out there for Karis just to abuse things with. And since she's the master, now those pyre markers that Sandeep drops also give out injured. So, seems pretty good. Oh, man. Okay. So, and then the last golem that we have is the metal golem. This is the one I probably bring the most, just because I think it's also pretty flexible. You can ride the rails out of activation, so that gives you the ability to go in and smash stuff when you activate it, because you can just be like, cool, ride the rails out of activation and go kill stuff. So that works out pretty good. Vent Steam, if I think there's going to be a lot of guns or something, or if I want to ping damage, Vent Steam is good to put out as well. And then it's a pretty survivable model because you can put shielded on it. Yeah, it's just really, really solid. Plus, off the rails is really good too for a 6-inch move, I found.
I just want to add, as an opponent, that Vent Steam has so much more pain on my side of the table than even looks like, because I have to take that into account.
Yeah, and it's a huge aura. I mean, it's 3 inches off of a 50 mil base. So I mean, essentially, that's
quite
a lot of terrain.
Quite large.
Yeah, free damage makes it harder to target you. Like, it's big on my mental state.
If you have a high tome, I love getting it off the melee attack, because you just get it off the tome trigger for condensation. So not only am I doing 3, 4, 6 to you with a positive, but now I'm also going to put Vent Steam up to make it difficult for your crew. And
I'm not really a fan of Metal Golem Sandeep. I played a lot with Mei Feng, but
Mhm.
I don't have many successes with this guy
What's your
in
preference?
Sandeep's.
He likes the ice golem.
Yeah, I'm the Ice Golem guy.
Hmm. So
And
you
I won't
get-
say he's weak by no means, but
Huh.
it's
the-
not my playstyle, I would say.
So you like
that
fire golem, wind golem, and ice golem? Is that correct?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
So you like the fire golem, the wind golem, and the ice golem in that list that you were talking about?
No, if I play a list with 3 golems, I definitely take the metal golem. But if there's only 2, I'd rather have the ice golem.
So the funny thing is, and this is kind of the reason why I like it, is it gives me another just kind of big beater to dive in on the back lines, because that last game I played against Maw 2, and I rode because Maw 2 is putting out pit traps which count as scrap markers all over the place. So I basically rode the rails into his crew using his own pit traps as scrap markers. So I took injured and damage, but it was worth it because I started getting in on his back line, and took pressure off of my crew and put pressure on his crew, which was good. So yeah, it was pretty fun. The metal golem didn't live very long because the rock hopper was over there, but it was pretty good.
So we talked about this later. There was no good golem other than the wind golem for that fight because Moss specifically removes conditions. So even the fire golem would have died. Yeah, no, literally, we were talking about it. I don't remember if it was this morning or last night, but it was like, holy crap, Moss gun removes conditions.
It wouldn't have died though, Dixon, as quickly, just because I'm still in range of in the middle of the storm. So that reduces it by 2. So I'm still taking less damage from range attacks.
Okay.
He would have to pull me out of the aura and to do the clearing thing. And in that case, I think he's using a lot of resources. So I'm probably okay with that.
Okay.
As opposed to that oversized drill just doing like 4 damage to the metal golem's face.
Right in the face.
Yep.
I think the Mataket is generally a great anti-golem tech because when she places 4 winds golem in a pit trap, you can't butterfly jump out of it, and
Yeah.
she's going to push you back.
Yep, it's just like, get back here. I don't wanna.
And it counts as separate, right? Because it's not part of the same action?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you get another ping of damage and injured.
Yeah, that's pretty good. All right, let me look at all this stuff. So when do you... So there's two other things I want to talk about. So going off of this gammon kind of train, do you ever bring gammon and leave them as an ice or fire gammon, or are you always changing them into a wind gammon eventually?
I don't really use fire or ice gammon. I sometimes use poison gammon because I think they hit the hardest. So when I have to change one gammon to another and need some little firepower, I think I have used poison gammon twice to some success, but mostly it's wind gammon.
Okay. And then the other question I was going to ask before we get into some of the flex picks and then some of the other things is, how often do you like playing Kendara? Because I probably have her in about half my lists.
Not that often. I use her as a tech pick when I need staggered against, I don't know, against Riva. That's really great. And against Leviticus, because when I play against Leviticus, I really want to assassinate both wives turn 1.
Yep.
So I can kill one of them with the golem, and then I need an academic that I can toss 10 inches and go and find the other wife. So I take either Kandara or Kudra to do the job.
Okay. I don't ever bring Kudra, but I definitely like Kendara. I think her serene continence can be a real problem for a lot of crews. She's also agile, which is never a bad thing. She can just kind of walk away from models. And then I actually do like her mantra. There are some games where you'll draw like 6 cards a game, and then there's other ones where it's like you draw 1. But because when something concentrates, if it's a tome, then you get to keep the tome essentially when you look at the top card of your deck. But like you were saying, the big thing is when I think my opponent's going to either be aggressive, I like her for I've got your back as another like emergency get them out of there trick. But then the throwing knives to put out staggered is really kind of where it is. That's really where you want her, is if you think you're going to want to stagger stuff and just kind of really punish them. That's what you want to do with those throwing knives. I did use her paired knives to kill a Ronin off in game 3 this weekend, so that was pretty good.
Added thing that has happened multiple times in our games. She catches black jokers, even if she doesn't draw them.
Yeah, that's correct.
You've constantly be like, look at the top card and then go like, I'm gonna do this random action now for no reason.
Yeah, I'm gonna toss a knife into my own model, and I won't relent.
The best time is when so you'll concentrate and it'll be like Bonasuva's activation, right? So you concentrate with a model, like, ooh, that's the Black Joker. I'm gonna toss a model because it'll still go off.
It happens all the time during our games. I'm just like, okay, she may not draw you cards, but she like predicts the future constantly.
Yeah, that is pretty good because I can look at a card and be like, okay, I can use that for a leap, or I'll look at a card and be like, okay, this is a crap card. I want to get rid of it before Dixon, attacks me or something. So, yeah, there's a lot of kind of predictability you can do with that, even if you're not drawing cards off of it for sure. Okay, so I think after going through all that, there's a couple of tech models or a couple of like out of keyword models that I'd say probably see the most with Sandeep, and one of those is definitely Cassandra.
Oh yeah.
If you get
She's
a chance
quite
to
popular.
if you get a chance to ban Performer, definitely do that against Sandeep because Cassandra is going to find her way in a lot of those lists. The main thing is because she can upstage Sandeep's bonus, so you can, if you bring her, you can do your bonus with Sandeep twice.
So, how often did it happen this weekend? I know it happened at least once.
I don't know, man. Word got around, and Performer got banned in almost every game that I played.
That's just funny, bro.
The word was people are like, yeah, if you're playing against Arcanist, just ban Performer.
Yeah, they were like, ban Nephilim for me for some reason, and whoa, I wonder why.
She's also just a good schemer, and Breath of Fire is good, so you have that available as well. Her balance sword's okay. I've used that to get a good reposition trigger. She's nimble. So yeah, I just think she's a solid pick. I don't know if there's any other out of keyword models that you like, Bartek.
Yeah, there are some models that I play out of keyword, not because they are good with academics, but because they are nice tech picks. And I don't know, Neil Henry is fantastic.
Yeah,
Pretty
good.
He's used it against me with Titania. That man does work.
Oh yeah, I played Neil Henry into Titania recently, and it's like, okay,
that bulldoze comes in clutch.
Yeah, a bulldoze and ignoring armor on your big guys and stunning your rider. So
yeah, and Titania. If you stun Titania, you pretty much won the game.
Oh, I didn't think about this. Yeah, it's nice.
It's a little tech pick.
Soulstone miners, obviously.
Yep.
Because why not? Oh. There's a rule of thumb: if you've got 6 stones, laying 3, you can just pick a miner.
Yeah, literally what Pete did. That's the reason why I was like, yeah, I guess that's just general knowledge for all Arcanist players.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think also the kind of going into the versatiles, I don't think you can go wrong if you decided to bring J5 or the Gearlings, because you're putting out so many conditions. You're just getting free bonus actions with them.
Bartek, like we were playing round 4, and he just sneaked a Gearling all the way to the corner on the bottom right of me after I had moved up the board, and I was like, that's probably gonna give him like 3 VPs. And lo and behold, half his points were literally that one gearling. It's so
It's true.
insane.
It's true. It's true.
Oh yes, I just realized that you can concentrate the 4 Winds Golem to place a gearling, and then he gets a free shielded because because of automatic movement.
So dang fast. It is so fast. It doesn't attack. It doesn't take damage too well, but my lord, is it fast.
Yes, and if you've got a gearling, you can take Harrison because why not? Some healing, some more movement. That's okay.
Yep. So I mean, if you don't feel like bringing a Windgammon, you could always just bring a gearling, and it does pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much. That's right.
Do you ever feel the need to bring the mechanical rider?
Yes, sometimes when I play against. Well, especially when I play against models with a lot of terrifying, like Jackdaw, and I can draw some cards, so I can survive the inevitable spam of executes.
Yeah, and there's not too many. I do have a couple lists where if I'm playing like the Ice Golem, there are some lists where I'll bring like a silent one out of keyword just because. You know, that's an extra healer, and it kind of synergizes with the ice pillars, which is nice.
Yeah, Pete, you also mentioned something about the Arachnid Swarm. I don't know if it was with Sandeep,
So I have a list that I've played a couple times, Bartek, where it's pretty much like 2 golems, the Shastar Guard, and an Arachnid Swarm with diesel engine. So it's a tight 6-inch or 6 model crew, but it's pretty fun because that Arachnid Swarm gives you, vent steam, or not vent steam, but sputtering exhaust for your crew starting off. And then it kind of just, you can toss it because it's only size 1. So there was one game where I tossed the Arachnid Swarm, and on turn 2, I scored Sabotage and Breakthrough with it on turn 2.
I'm a huge fan of the Arachnids. They are really fantastic. I think people don't find them very popular. Sometimes
they forgot.
Yeah, they forgot. I sometimes play 3 small arachnids, so I've got more actions at the beginning, especially in Break the Line.
Yeah, because I brought it in round 1. I brought an Arachnid Swarm, and turn 1 I killed off Yoko's Totem. I just went over there
with the swarm.
Yep, with the swarm.
Nice.
And then turn 2, I just ran across to score Breakthrough. And then turn 3, I started bringing it back into my crew just to start kind of causing chaos with some of the more techie models. I think I killed the what was it? The Terracotta Warrior. I killed that with the Arachnid Swarm. So they do work, and they're not super easy to deal with sometimes. And they're unimpeded. They get positive to damage.
Yeah, they have nimble, so they are really fast.
Yep.
My God.
And with Devastating Strike and Latch On and Strength in Numbers, you've got a double positive to your damage flip.
Yep.
That's a triple positive on a charge with charge through from.
Yeah, you're probably hitting that 5 damage.
Yeah.
You're probably hitting that 5 damage. I've never heard of that. We just say +3 flip on the damage. I want everybody to realize that this thing is basically stat 6 when it's in base-to-base contact. And somehow it erased from our memories, because this was a model that got nerfed, and it's still great. I'm just like losing my mind over here.
Yeah, I don't think you bring it all the time, but in some pools where it's like you can run it to go score and then come back real quick, because it gets that when you have diesel engine specifically, when it activates, you have on the move, so you get a little 3-inch move, and then you can do your bonus to walk, and then you have a 5-inch charge. So essentially, what's that, like a 13, 14-inch threat range for a charge?
That's not taking into account toss.
Well, that's the cool thing, man. When you toss this thing 10 inches, you can really threaten some models. Like, there'll be a scheme runner like way over there, and you just toss this thing 10, and then it has a 14-inch threat range. So that's 24 inches that you can just send it, just go. And you can toss it through, severe terrain. It ignores terrain for movement purposes
Of
for
course,
severe.
of course.
So that's what I'm saying. You can toss it through terrain and not have any difficulty, really.
I started thinking that Arcanists have quite strong keyword synergies. So
Mhm.
I myself tend to not take a lot of versatiles because I am missing on something else. And
Yeah.
that may be the reason why people don't play the Arachnids that much.
Yeah. I think you want to have a very specific role for it in mind. I don't think you just want to bring it whenever. Like I said, I usually like bringing it if there's sabotage because it can go score that on its own and then get back quick enough to kind of um, pick off other things. So,
Yep,
and
but
Sandeep's solid
we,
enough where I feel like he can hold it down while it does something.
we are talking about 10 soulstones with
Yeah.
the swarm and diesel engine. That's the cost of Forwind's Golem.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The list that I brought it in that I kind of settled on is so it's Sandeep with Bonasuva with Soulstone Cash because Dixon has traumatized me to always put Soulstone Cash on Bonasuva. And then I have the Shastar with Magical Training, Four Winds Golem with Soulstone. That list I have the Metal Golem, and then I have the Arachnid Swarm with Diesel Engine. So I basically have 4 models that are 10 stone models in this list or
Yes.
more.
But they hit like Mack trucks, so
They
it
do.
kind of evens out.
You
Well,
got
and
me inspired. I will have to check this out because
Do try.
it really sounds funny
Oh yeah.
and
It makes the metal
effective
golem
as well.
Yeah, it makes the metal golem dangerous. I'm sorry, more dangerous because now it becomes stat 6.
Oh, nice! Because Lachon, yeah.
Exactly.
That's
Like it's
Well,
super gross.
and something that people need to recognize is you're going to have a list a lot of times with Sandeep that are only 6 or 7 models, and it's not really even that bad because you got to think you're discarding with Student of All to get extra action, so that's probably 2 or 3 extra actions you're getting, and then you have Lord of the Elements, which is giving you another action. So, I mean, even though you only have 6 models, sometimes you have 4 extra actions that you can use for profit.
There's actually I wanted to talk about this like half an hour ago, but I forgot. Sandeep has quite nice card interaction because if you've got weak cards, most masters don't know what to do with them. You're just gonna discard and make like 3 4 more attacks. And if you've got a solid hand, you don't have to. You can just hit your normal attacks and concentrate and hit harder with cheating severes.
Yeah, and I think that brings us into our final kind of part of this conversation, which is kind of like, what does Sandeep do, right? And I really have found that Sandeep can run every pool that I've come across. There's never been a pool that I've seen with Sandeep where I'm like, oh, I can't run this. Even in corner, I can run. I actually think Sandeep unpacks really well out of corner. If there's difficult terrain, I'm not worried about it because the wind golems help me kind of maneuver around
Yeah, you're gonna
terrain.
leap around.
Yep. And there's tosses, so I can toss through where I need to. So it's very flexible in movement, and it's also very fast. It also can reposition and kind of play well. It has a lot of engagement ranges that lets you deny covert. It's mobile enough for guard. You have enough actions that you can do carve. And then you have tanky lists that you can build that make it very difficult to kill it in curse. So I find Sandeep can actually play all the strats currently very well.
Actually, I had a list of notes on the other screen, and I tried to figure out when I don't want to play Sandeep, and the only scenario that comes to my mind is when there are a lot of schemes that require to put out scheme markers, because the only way to do this is to interact.
Yeah, I think you're right there. So like I don't play so if there was a pool where it was like spread them out, sabotage, breakthrough, and public demo, and maybe Vendetta, I would think maybe of not bringing Sandeep there because that pool can be a little difficult to score. I don't think you run into that very often though in this GG.
No, you really don't, but that's something to keep in mind. Yeah,
True.
Sandeep is quite versatile with what he wants to play.
Do
So-
you have? I just had a quick question, Bartek. Do you have
Yeah, go
any
ahead.
answers if you feel like you need to play Sandeep because of some other reason? Do you have an answer for people that do drop a lot of ski markers?
Do I have an answer for dropping skin markers?
Like a play or something, or a model that you like to bring?
No, not really. To be fair, I can bring Neil so he can bulldoze the skin markers.
Okay.
But other than that, no, I will be leaping around with four wins golem and 3 gamin and trying to outskim my opponent.
Gotcha.
The fire golem has flame tornado, which has the burnt to a crisp trigger.
Yeah.
So you
that's
have-
right.
Okay, so
If I bring it, I'm not planning it, but if I bring it, it's there.
Gotcha. Well, I like to keep it in mind because I would like to learn Sandeep eventually.
Yeah, so I do think that's kind of that's something to think about as far as just and even then, I don't think it's impossible. It's just not as efficient to drop a bunch of ski markers like that. I will say though that you're unless you feel like bringing like 3 gammon or something, you're probably not ever doing public demo with Sandeep 2.
No, not really.
Yeah,
But on the other
models are
hand,
expensive.
how often do you play public demo with other crews? That's, I think, one of the more difficult. Yeah.
It is. It's a dead scheme to me.
Yeah, it
I
doesn't
sometimes
exist.
do it with Colette or Mayfang, because
I can do it with Mayfang for sure.
yeah, and with Colette when I decide to hire, I don't know, 2 soulstone miners, 2 gearlings, and 5 steam arachnids.
Yeah, somebody told me that. They were like, well, you could just bring like 6 steam arachnids or whatever.
What the? You can what? I'm so confused right now. You
Uh,
can do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
I thought you were capped at like 3 models. Well, this is
No,
how much I
that-
know about this scheme.
There
No,
are
it's any amount of models that add up to like 18 soulstones.
No, we are talking about the scheme itself. No, you have
Yeah.
to pick 3 models.
Okay.
But when you have 7 minions, I mean, let your opponent guess which ones you have chosen.
Oh,
It's a chill game.
so-
Which arachnid is it?
sneaky. I like that a lot.
I love load 'em up with Sandeep too. So if that's in the scheme pool, I kind of think that's a possibility. Like, oh yeah, that's a good one for Sandeep to score. It's almost auto 2 points in a lot of games.
Yeah, that's quite easy. Breakthrough is easy with the golem.
Yep.
Almost too easy.
Assassinate because you can kill everyone on the board if you're lucky.
I mean, you have enough actions, you can always kill somebody, right?
Yeah. Actually, I would like to see Pete try to fight against Castore. That would be interesting. I'm thinking we.
Oh,
have that
I
matchup
hate this
yet.
guy. It's my menace.
Right?
Is it?
Oh.
Yeah, the healing's for real on that crew.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, leave your marks pretty good with this crew because you can just discard a card to have somebody score it.
Just randomly.
I actually, so talking about a pool that I don't like playing Sandeep into, if I see a pool with Vendetta and In Your Face, I actually tend to not like Sandeep in those pools because it's easy for my opponent to score those. Because so many of your models are pretty expensive in Sandeep that In Your Face, if they kill something, they're going to score it. Because I think half your models at least are, 8 stones or more.
Easily. Oh, man.
So yeah, I mean, Sandeep's very flexible. Like I said, there's very few pools that I see that I'm like, I don't love Sandeep into this. I can pretty much shoehorn him into any game. I feel like a lot of times.
Bartek, I had to convince this man to just in case put 2 other keywords in his bag. Because he was literally like, I can do this entire tournament with Sandeep. And he did it, but I was like, just in case, put 2 more.
When we were playing at the WTC, I packed like 5 keywords and ended up playing Colette all the time.
Yeah.
I like Colette.
Coming back to schemes, I really like Hidden Martyrs with Sandeep because I can pick Banasuva and a Gamin or a Mage, and my opponent really wants to kill Banasuva, so I've got a point for this.
So but aren't you telegraphing if you don't swap the Gamin? You know what I mean, right? Because if you swap the Gamin, you lose the Hidden Martyr. So I was like...
Yeah, but I don't always swap the Gammon anyways.
Okay,
so.
Just wanted to make sure.
That's why I picked the Mage, to be fair, usually.
Tracking, I get it.
Yeah, because that's 6 stones and Banasuva is 7, so you can do it that route.
I got you.
Also, if you get lucky and you can figure out which models your opponent could have selected for Hidden Martyrs, you can just try and kill this model turn 1 with 4 Winds Golem. I realized that Edek really likes to choose Earl Burns when playing Zip as his target for Hidden Martyrs, and I usually go for this model turn 1. So
yeah, boy,
no Hidden Martyrs for him.
That's so good. Yeah, and I don't know. We can get into now this last part, which is what are some good counter plays or what are some good counters to Sandeep? Because I think when people first see Sandeep, they are like, how is this able to be in the game? Because it feels really strong, right? And it feels like you're cheating because you're doing all these things that nobody else does in the game.
Yep. The minefield.
It's like, didn't that model already concentrate? Or I had somebody who's like, didn't you already concentrate this activation? I was like, yeah, but it was that model. So now this model's concentrating. Actually, I think there was one activation. I had 3 models concentrate. I activated Banasuva. I had the Wind Golem concentrated, then Banasuva concentrated. Then I lowered the elements to have somebody else concentrate.
Yep. And shockingly, that's actually a masterful play because you're triggering so many mantras.
Yeah, you're drawing 3 cards. If you get lucky,
pushing 3 models to the round. Yeah, placing model 4. So it feels like cheating. So what are some of the counter plays that are good against Sandeep, or some of the good tech picks against Sandeep, do you feel, Bartek?
I feel like, firstly, Malifaux is quite a counter play because suddenly you can't kidnap a model and just kill it with your other stuff. Terrifying is problematic. I've got willpower 5 on these guys. On the golems.
I find incorporeal models are also pretty good picks.
Yeah, because I'm dealing half the damage with my shockwaves.
Or like Maw 2 ignoring hazardous terrain was really good when I played against that.
Maw 2 has like a couple of things that I was like, oh my god, that is actually really good.
This is where I'm also gonna tip of the cap to you, Dixon. You like playing Klaus when you're playing Neverborn. Klaus considers himself a friendly model, so he ignores like everything Sandeep does.
Literally
everything.
And when he gets into the crew, his pounce, he like has pounce, or no, you actually, I think you used the Wind Golem's attack and you got Pouncing Strike and started doing like damage to my models. Really good. So if you have models that can act as a friendly where you ignore Sandeep's stuff, that's really good.
If you can obey my golem, that's a nice play. Command construct against the metal golem.
I did that to Pete this weekend too. Obey his Wind Golem like 4 times. I still lost, but it was like it went from like me losing 6-2 to me losing 6-5.
Yeah.
Okay, that's close. 6-5. It's
Oh yeah.
almost a draw.
It came down. It
Almost.
came down to like two activations, one in turn 3 and one in turn 5. We talked about it. It was pretty bad because like he was beating me soundly.
And it was the Gearling. The Gearling did it.
That right there.
Well, the Gearling, can scoot like 20 inches across the board. So
Yeah, and
I
they
just,
still interact.
yep. So basically, I was like, yeah, I can just run him over there, Dixon, and deny you guard the stash.
And I was like, yeah, I know. That's the reason why I was like, we can pretty much talk about it right now. There's no way I can score more.
Yeah. So I don't think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Bartek. I don't think bringing a ton of remove terrain is good against Sandeep. There's just a lot of stuff being put out that I don't think it's going to help you that much that people would think it would.
No, I think we agree on that because once the markers are on the board, they are not that important. Their main function is to serve as a shockwave marker.
Yeah, and I mean everything after that's just gravy. It's just trying to put a little more burning on you, trying to make you, destroy it if it's an ice pillar, make you think around it if you got a metal golem and there's a scrap marker, making you kind of play around that possibility. But if you get rid of it, Sandeep really doesn't care. He's like, because honestly, if it was important, I can just discard a card to have Sandeep put it down again.
Yeah, you can sometimes try to block a narrow passage somewhere
Yep.
with a nice pillar or two, but that's it. That's not the clue of the
Yeah,
keyword.
so I wouldn't invest heavy in marker removal for if you
No,
have it, it's okay. Like it's like, oh yeah, if you have it and you can just use it, I mean, it doesn't hurt. But if you're specifically teching that model in for marker removal, I think you could probably find a better model.
I'd rather have condition removal.
Yeah.
That's, I think,
Oh
more
yeah.
more useful.
Oh yeah. If you have condition removal is huge because you're going to have a lot of burning. There's going to be some staggered and slow, possibly. So yeah, I definitely agree. I think that's the better play. Any other? Well, I think we talked about this, but I think it's worth saying again. If you can kill Bonasuva, you need to do that.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this. So if you've got something like Valedictorian which can fly up to Banasuva and kill him, yes, I think you should do this. And I think it's even more important to kill Banasuva than to kill Sandeep himself.
So
There you
that
go.
game I played against Angel, I was actually going to say that. I know it put me behind the game to lose Sandeep turn 2, but if I lost Bonasuva that early, that would have been worse, I think, just because of all the counterplay and stuff that Bonasuva sets up.
I do have one question for Bartek. I know that Pete likes to put Soulstone Cash, but I've heard throughout the weekend that there's people that don't like Soulstone Cash. So what's your opinion on Soulstone Cash?
On Soulstone Cash in general, or on Soulstone Cash on
On
Banasuva?
well, both. If like no, seriously. Like there's people literally throughout the weekend that were saying it's like, oh, I don't like putting Soulstone Cash because then you end up putting like 4 Soulstones into a model. So what do you feel about it?
I think it's one of the most powerful upgrades in the game. It's on the level of lead line and code. So especially when you've got a model that's got a lot of damage reduction on its own, then this additional 1 or 2 soulstone points of damage that you can prevent are even more useful. And it acts like a deterrent because when someone decides to shoot at your golem and it's like, okay, you've got armor, you've got middle of the storm, possibly shielded, and you're gonna stone, so I need 9 damage to do anything.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
that comes into the second question then. So, do you put it on Banasuba or a Golem or both?
I usually put in on 4 Winds Golem because he doesn't have any innate damage reduction. And I give the second one to Banasuva unless I am playing on corner because nobody's getting anywhere close.
Yeah, I think that's the correct play. And the way I look at it is you put it on Bonasuva to help him stay alive, but you put it on the Wind Golem, yeah, for damage reduction. But I also put it more on the Wind Golem to harvest soul stones. And there has been more than one occasion where I've kidnapped a model and killed it with Bonasuva and the Wind Golem next to it, so I get 2 soul stones.
I played against Sommer recently, and there is a strange mechanic that you kill a model and it summons a bio gremlin in base contact, something like this. It's so you kill a model and you get a soul stone, then you also get a free bio gremlin that you can kill.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. I'm done with this. That's the number. That's the demise ability.
Oh yes, I'm done with this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely if you can kill Bonasuva, that's a good counterplay. Of course, Sandeep, if he's actually harder to kill than people think looking at his card, just because of all the ways you can kind of get him out of trouble. So
if you can double tap him, he probably dies. But
yeah.
It's clearly a misplay if you let your opponent do that.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, that's what I did against Angel. So hooray me! I just saw that. I was like, touche. Well played, sir. Well played. Okay, well, last thing I do want to talk about is I just do want to get your quick thoughts on Sandeep 1, Bartek. Just mainly like how he plays, because I know he's a summoner, but how do you find him like when you play him? Like, how does that? We don't need the full thing, but just how do you generally use him? And I don't see a way I would play him over the title, but maybe you can sell me a little bit on that.
He likes golems as well as the other guy, but the playstyles are quite similar, to be fair. He's more shooty because he can channel his Arcane Storm through other academics. So he's staying in the back and shooting 2, 3, 5 damage from safety of 16 inches, something like this.
Yep.
He's got this action Command the Elements, which allows a friendly elemental to push up to 2 inches and take an action. So you can hit your opponent with a golem in your own activation.
Okay.
And he's got Etheric Detonation, which detonates an elemental. So you just summon a Poison Gamin and detonate him. And, everyone suffers 3 damage.
Okay.
So I think he does pretty much the same as Sandeep Font of Magic, but in a less effective manner.
Yeah, it's a little clunkier, it seems like to me.
Yeah, he's a summoner, and let's see how summons work when GG4 drops. Maybe he will see some comeback.
Yeah, and last thing I did want to hit up, just because I do find spots for this on Font of Magic, and I did want to mention it because I just thought of it. So on Font of Magic, he does have a gun that's 10 range. It's a willpower 6 gun from Heaven and Earth. And this actually, there are times where if I have a high RAM for the World Around Us trigger, it is pretty good because it's 2/3/3, but then you do a damage for if there's different types of markers up to 2. So essentially, this becomes a 4/5/5 with some blast on it as well. So I mean, there's been times where I've gotten that trigger to one shot a model, or I've done it to scalpel out a model that's kind of hiding in the back. Like I killed a guild mage with this one time. That was pretty good. So it's not the main thing you're doing with Sandeep, but I did want to give a quick shout out to it because the World Around Us trigger, I feel like, has a lot of good spots, especially once again for hard to kill models. Like if you do 2 damage to get it down to hard to kill, and then the trigger will kill it because the trigger happens after the damage. It doesn't add it to the damage of the range attack.
Yeah, also if you would like to spam some shockwaves and you would like to stagger your opponent first, you can
Yep.
use From Heaven and Earth and declare Inner Peace trigger, so you get a free
To get the
concentrate.
concentrate, yeah.
Yeah. But as you say, you can scalpel out models because Etheric Control, well, paradoxically, it doesn't give you control over where the
Yeah.
damage is applied.
Yeah, you don't get to choose what fails it, but I will say, people that don't like shockwaves, Sandeep has a good shockwave game because even if your opponent's models, all of them pass the shockwave duel, you're probably going to have a pyre marker underneath models. So if they activate and do stuff, you're going to start gaining fire.
Yeah. Dropping pyre markers and stuff like that is way better than people think.
Yeah.
Also, it's draining your opponent's deck. 'Cause
Yeah.
you hit like 4 models, so that's 4
That
cards away. And
that sure was a nice red joker you flipped on that shockwave duel.
Oh, that's so frustrating.
That's why, like, I don't even get upset when people pass it. When they're flipping 13s just for Aetheric Control, I was like, that was just a 5 I used to get that off. So you wasting a Joker or 13 seems pretty good for me. Any other random Sandeep thoughts that you have, Bartek, before we get up out of here?
there is one more action on his card. It's called Spark of the Elements, and I don't think I have ever used it. It lets you add a duel, a suit to a duel, and I really don't know what's the point.
I used it once and it seems fine. I did Banasuva and I did Lord of the Elements to Spark of the Elements onto Sandeep to have a built-in ram because
Okay.
there was a line of play where I was like, I can unload with From Heaven and Earth.
Oh,
And
okay, I can see that.
yeah, and I just unloaded and did like 3 because there was a bunch of models there. So I was like, yeah, I'm just going to try to kill everything in this little bubble. And just went boom, 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 and killed like half the stuff. So it has some play, but it's very corner case.
Dude, that's really
Very corner
good.
case.
Holy moly. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, you want to do it on the model before it activates. So if I was going to do it to Sandeep, I would do it with Banasuva. If I want the built-in RAM, I guess on the Wind Golem, do it on that before. But yeah, it's very corner case. A lot of times you don't need that action
Yeah,
at all.
because Banasuva is going to have Soulstone Cache, and
Yeah.
Sandeep is a master, so he has Soulstones. Four Winds Golem has a Soulstone Cache, so
Yeah. Yeah, if you didn't if we didn't have Soulstone Cache and Arcanist, I could see that action being better.
yeah,
But like you were
it
saying,
really
most
would be
times you
great.
just don't. If I tell you what, if it wasn't elemental only, I would do this all day to the Shastar Guard for armor piercing.
Oh
But it's
yes.
elemental only, so you can't do that. But yeah, you're not going to use that very often. So just kind of know it's there. And once you have about 25, 30 games with Sandeep, you'll find like I probably have about 40 games with Sandeep now, and I've used Spark of the Elements like twice. That's how corner case it is.
There is Essence of Power is the last thing I would like to talk about because that's a fantastic model that never sees the table. So when we're talking about things
did you say fantastic model?
it looks
right.
cool. I like it.
He is right too.
I didn't know it was a model until I saw it in that random box I had to buy for Kandara. I was like, what the crap is this?
I mean, 1,000%.
I remember when I started playing Malifaux, I used to run a list of Sandeep and Essence of Power and Envy, so I can position the gun literally anywhere, and I get to shoot with a 6+. But yeah, it was years ago,
Yep.
and I really miss the old days of naive Malifaux.
Amplify is pretty gross. It's like the one thing that I like about this card that I've seen on Vassal. Am I crazy? Because like literally, it's the thing that I love about this model. Amplify.
Yeah, Amplify is really great, but the model is crap, and it's going to die before you get to do anything with it.
I've seen him played in both Keras and Raspy. So definitely not Sandeep.
Okay.
So I was shocked when you mentioned it.
I tried it with Hoffman when I brought some guns.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I will say last thing that I had just pop in my mind that I forgot to mention, probably because I don't want to tell people this, but if you have irreducible damage, that murders Sandeep's crew a lot.
That's everybody.
Oh yeah.
Tell me a crew that irreducible damage doesn't like hose.
People, I don't know. I'm just saying.
There is none. That's the reason why I mentioned.
Well, I'm just saying because you have shielded, you have stones, and you have armor. So if you can get around all three of those with, I don't know, Levy, it can be a problem. And it is, I did play that Levy matchup, and it is a race of, okay, can I kill these waifs and then kill Levy?
Yeah,
Bartek, my whole crew.
Yeah, Bartek literally mentioned that. I think it was with the Wind Golem that you like chasing.
Yeah,
them.
you hunt down the waves. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to do this. And I think the another nasty matchup is Yeonza. Because she can hit you with your own markers with dredge up. Dredge up.
That's a good point.
Is it just her, or
yeah.
is it like the seeker keyword in general?
No, I think the seeker keyword is. I can deal with the seeker keyword because these guys, they I have problem formulating it.
It's okay.
So you deal damage, but you can do it in chunks. So suddenly everyone is on fire, and Master runs out of life tokens. Also, we can kidnap someone, break line of sight with markers or big models. That's okay.
Yeah, big butt.
All right, what about you, Dixon? Anything you want to say about Sandeep before we get out of here?
F Sandeep. There you go.
He's a really good master. I encourage you if you like. It's very satisfying to play Sandeep too, specifically. There's just so many lines of play that you really can't do with a lot of masters and keywords that Sandeep just really has available to him. And it's really satisfying when you pull off those lines of play.
Yeah.
So, Bartek, I want to thank you for coming on again. It was a lot of fun talking about the Fonts of Magic.
Thank you, guys. I had fun talking with you as well. It's really great. And have a great day because it's 9 o'clock right there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So
sorry for that.
Oh, no, you're good. And then until next time, make sure that you guys are flipping cards and flipping tables, and we will see y'all later.